I'm Pat Summerall, your host for Great Teams, Great Years. In the frigid, icy waste of a Wisconsin winter, there once was struck a spark that became an ember, a flame, and then a roaring inferno, and a small town called Green Bay became the hotbed of the NFL. In 61 and 62, the Packers, coached by the intense Vince Lombardi, won back-to-back championships. In 65 and 66, they did it again. Their followers became as zealous as religious postulants, and the legends that surrounded these Packers grew in stature every day. But the stuff of legends is the stuff of the past, and like the empires of Rome, the Incas, and the Aztecs, the Packer dream was soon to fade in shadow. But before the procession of triumphal days drifted downstream, the golden-helmeted Packers made one last glorious stand. They had been so good for so long that every team in the NFL was gunning for them in 1967. But these wise old warriors knew the tricks of the fight. They had absorbed the lessons of football and life handed down by their coach, and they were ready to go at it one more time. We're ready to go for an unprecedented third championship in a row.
Since 1965, only one light has burned in the National Football League. It has glowed constantly for the proud Packers of Green Bay, Wisconsin. In Lambeau Stadium on December 31st, 1967, they won their third consecutive NFL title, a feat never before accomplished in the modern history of the game. This is simply about the way it was. Starting with the first championship season, starting with that gloomy December day in 1965, when the Packers met the Colts in Baltimore to determine first place in the Western Division.
And the rest of the Baltimore Colts.
One man can't win a championship, but certainly no one man contributed more in the crucial gains of the 1965 season than Paul Hornung, number 5. Against the Colts, he scored 5 touchdowns and led Green Bay to a resounding victory and a half-game lead in the Western Division. But at the season's end, the Colts and the Packers were tied, and in a playoff game in Lambeau Stadium, they battled to a 10-10 deadlock. After 14 minutes of sudden death overtime, Green Bay's dreams of the Western title rode on the right foot of Don Chandler. His field goal attempt cleared the crossbar with ease and cleared the way to the first championship game. 1 week later on the same field, Green Bay head coach Vince Lombardi saw Chandler and Hornung lead the Packers to the NFL title with a 23-12 victory over the Cleveland Browns. In 1966, quarterback Bart Starr passed Green Bay to an easy victory in the Western Division. In the championship game in the Cotton Bowl, Starr ripped open the Dallas Cowboys with 4 touchdown passes, and Green Bay won 34-27. 2 weeks later, against the Kansas City Chiefs of the AFL, Starr directed the Packers to a convincing triumph in the first Super Bowl game. The second straight championship was won, but the greatest challenge was still to be faced. The stern voice of Coach Lombardi heralded the opening of the 1967 season.
This year we face the greatest challenge we have ever faced. We will be in quest of an unprecedented third straight championship, something no team has ever accomplished.
Coach Lombardi faced the greatest challenge with a team that was torn and battered. A rugged exhibition schedule had left Bart Starr a mass of bruises, and the Packers' offensive firepower was severely diminished. As a result, Green Bay relied on the strength of its defense to win. After an opening day tie with Detroit, the Packers held the Chicago Bears to a total of 6 first downs and earned their first victory of the year. In the season's third game, the Atlanta Falcons ran 50 plays and gained only 58 yards. Not once did they cross the Packer goal as Green Bay registered a 23-0 shutout. Against the Detroit Lions, the Packer defense did a vicious job, and few will forget the beating Milt Plum received at the hands of Henry Jordan and Willie Davis. And few will forget Ray Nitschke's game-breaking touchdown run with a deflected pass that clinched Green Bay's third victory. So, through the first part of the season, the defense kept Green Bay's title hopes alive. And throughout the remainder of the year, it would be the determining factor in the Packers' success. It is an aggressive defense that intimidates opponents, wears them down, and disorganizes their offensive pattern. Its true worth can be judged by the fact that 8 of its 11 members have, at one time or another, been honored by selection on various all-pro teams. Supported by this defense, the Packers held up through the first 4 games without a loss. But with their crippled offense, they were an incomplete team. In fact, rumor had it that the champion Packers were dead. They still wore the same green jerseys and gold helmets, and they still had a concrete defense. But their offense had suffered critical breakdowns. And when they lost to the Minnesota Vikings in the season's 5th game, their future was as much in question as their offense.
Some things speak for themselves.
Michelob, one smooth and mellow taste tells you all you need to know. Michelob, some things speak for themselves.
Don't miss the NCAA Division II Men's Basketball Championship next on ESPN. We're all set in Springfield to bring you the live play-by-play.
Ladies and gentlemen, the heavyweight champion of the work.
Dickies Work Clothes. It's the best-selling work set in America because it's made of the heaviest, toughest fabric in America, fortified with Fortrell. We don't have to knock out the competition. We wear them out. Dickies, the heavyweight champion of the work. Dickies makes everything in work clothes. But who says you have to work in them?
Saturday, ESPN takes you into the action with live USFL football. 2 NFL veterans call the signals when Greg Landry leads the Arizona Wranglers against Doug Williams and the Oklahoma Outlaws. Will the Wranglers rope in another victory, or will the Outlaws ride off with a win? Get the answer live Saturday.
During the Suzuki Knockout Savings Sale, you'll see some of our fastest Suzukis move even faster. But hurry, they're already vanishing into thin air.
After their loss to the Vikings, the Packers arrived at Yankee Stadium to play the Giants. To Green Bay's proud old veterans, this game had a special significance. Jerry Kramer explains why.
We started out rather haphazardly the first few games of the season. And then there was a great attack upon us by the press media that we were all old, that we were over the hill, that the Packers are all old men. And a number of articles about the old Green Bay Packers. They're too old, they're over the hill, over the hump, a number of other things. In New York, against the Giants, Bob Skoronski in his pregame speech got up and said, "I'm tired as hell about being called an old man." He said, "I'm up to here with it," and I think everyone else on the club was too. We were a little mad. Not particularly at the Giants, but at the newspaper people more so than anybody else. And we had a little something to prove. They inspired us. They gave us a reason to play.
The Packers crushed the Giants 48-21 and proved that all they had lost during the early uncertain days of the season was the use of their quarterback, Bart Starr. Zeke Bretkowski had done a capable job filling in for Starr. He is a good quarterback, but Starr is a great one. And with him back in the lineup, the Packers became a championship team again. They rolled up 400 yards against the Giants and seemed bent on refuting the experts who had predicted the end of the Green Bay dynasty. In the first half of the season, the defense had kept the Packers in contention. And now in the second half, when it counted most, the offense would carry them to the title. It was Starr who brought on the renaissance of Green Bay's attack, time and again in crucial third down situations when success was vital to keep scoring drives in progress. Starr demonstrated his celebrated coolness in the face of the enemy. And when the occasion arose, he proved to be an adequate scrambler as well. One reason Starr is such a good quarterback is that he never throws the ball unless he is reasonably sure that it will reach the hands of a teammate. He would accept a momentary setback and patiently wait for the appropriate moment in which to strike. With Starr back in shape, the Packer receivers once again enjoyed prosperity. Ward Dowler, number 86, the tall ex-hurdler from Colorado, was the Packers' leading receiver with 63 catches. Dowler is tall enough to outreach most defensive backs and fast enough to run by them. Max McGee, infinitely wise after 12 years in the NFL, has a certain genius for producing the big play. McGee is a spot player, but Carroll Dale is not, and he shares much of McGee's wisdom and has more speed. In the backfield, Green Bay had a seemingly endless abundance of running backs. Elijah Pitts and Jim Grabowski started the season. Against the Bears, Grabowski carried the ball 32 times and gained 111 yards. Elijah Pitts, number 22, is not as big as Grabowski, but he hurts when he hits. And his balance and quickness make him especially effective on Green Bay's most famous running play, the power sweep. Pitts also excelled in the clutch. Against the Detroit Lions, he raced 84 yards with a pass to set up Don Chandler's last-second game-tying field goal. By November, all the parts of the Green Bay machine were functioning smoothly. In the 11th game of the season, the Packers crushed the Chicago Bears and proved that they were the best team in the Central Division. 1 month later, for the third year in a row, that they were the best team in the Western Conference.
The Wall Street Journal is written for busy people. It doesn't waste your time with what you don't want to know. Make sure that you don't miss anything you have to know. Accurate, to the point, complete. The Wall Street Journal. It's all here.
Get all the business news you need when you need it. Get the Wall Street Journal delivered for 6 months for $53. Phone toll-free 800-372-3000. That's 6 months, $53. Delivered every business day. Phone 800-372-3000. Subscribe now.
Nashville is the hottest city in America, and we're not talking about the temperature. More live music comes out of Nashville than any other city in the world, and all that spirit, energy, and glamour is captured on the Nashville Network. Where else could you find Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, and Barbara Mandrell? The Nashville Network is country entertainment from the new entertainment capital of the country. The Nashville Network. It's hot. Don't miss that fun-filled comedy show, I-40 Paradise, with the Mighty Notes.
Michelob, something speak for themselves.
Michelob, one smooth and mellow taste tells you all you need to know. Michelob, some things speak for themselves.
Until December 23rd, there were those who said the Los Angeles Rams were the strongest team in football. They had won 10 straight games, and their defensive line, the so-called fearsome foursome, was the toughest in the league. Then on a dark day in Milwaukee, the Green Bay Packers proved that the Rams were not even the best team in the Western Conference. With the Western title at stake, Green Bay's defense, led by Henry Jordan, dropped Roman Gabriel 5 times for losses. On offense, Bart Starr completed 74% of his passes. Carroll Dale was the leading receiver, making 6 receptions for 109 yards and 1 touchdown. Bob Skoronski, Forrest Gregg, Gail Gillingham, and Ken Bowman opened gaping holes in the fearsome foursome. Chuck Mercine and Travis Williams sped through them and ran the Packers to a 28-7 win. Gimmick nicknames have not romanticized the Green Bay Packers. Otherwise, after this game, somebody would have dubbed them the Fearsome 40. On the coldest New Year's Eve in the cold, cold history of Green Bay, the Packers met the Dallas Cowboys of the Eastern Conference for the championship of the National Football League. After 55 minutes of play, the Cowboys led by 3 points, and most of the crowd had almost decided to go home, warm up, and drown their sorrows with a sad New Year's Eve celebration. But in the final frozen moments, the Packers burrowed deep into that reservoir of experience and determination that has accumulated in their unequal 3-year reign as champions of the world. They toiled 67 yards in 4.5 minutes to the threshold of pro football history. Yard, the clock, and the brave Dallas defense were all that stood between the Packers and the impossible dream. An entire season's work depended on this one final play. Jerry Kramer reveals that it was engineered with Green Bay's typical attention to detail.
We spend hours and hours and hours looking at the films and the minutest detail. We even take every goal line play out and put them in a separate reel. And traditionally, your defensive linemen on the goal line charge in low and hard. And oftentimes, they what we call submarine. They just bury their head on the ground so that they can't be moved back. We found in viewing the Dallas films that Jethro Pugh was a little higher than the other people and that he could possibly be moved a little bit easier. So we had decided prior to the game that if we were going to run a wedge, we would run it on Jethro.
Jerry Kramer drove out Jethro Pugh and steered Bart Starr to the championship of the National Football League. There it was. Only one play, one block in a long season of plays and blocks in one-yard games. But it was a play to remember. A play that tells you what the Green Bay Packers are all about. Guts, determination, and Coach Vince Lombardi.
I think it's because of Coach Lombardi, and I don't believe there's any question about it. He has made the comment a number of times that he said, and I've never believed this before, but I'm beginning to. He said, "You're not the greatest athletes in the world." He says, "We've got guys same size, same speed, same mental ability as most of you people. But he says, there's something a little more." He says, "We look for a little bit of character in an individual." He molds that character, or that's something that's intangible, something special about you. And if you don't have it, you don't stay in Green Bay very long. And if you do have it, or have a chance to have it, he brings it out of you and develops it in you.
With an icy victory in the NFL Championship, the Packers won the right to move south to Miami for the Super Bowl.
Would your car run over 100 miles without any oil? Hey, forget about it. The odds are against it. But this one did. A stock 1980 Camaro that was first treated with Bardol, then had all the oil drained from the crankcase. Then it was driven from Canada to Seattle, over 114 miles with no engine failure. Believe me, a real torture test for Bardol. Take the Greek's word for it. Get Bardol, the engine saver.
Thinking about throwing in the towel? No, think about making it Michelob Light for the winners.
Your serve.
Michelob Light for the winners.
Would good friends really play this hard for a beer? Well, it is Michelob Light, the rich, smooth taste you can compare to any beer you like.
Michelob Light for the winners.
Boy, I need help with my serve.
Tom will help you.
First, you remove the cap.
Michelob Light.
Every week, Barron's tells you more than what has happened or is happening in investments. Barron's tells you what will happen. A smart investor can take it from there.
You can get the next 26 issues of Barron's for $36. Just call 800-554-9000. Call today, and you'll also get as a bonus the helpful booklet, The ABCs of Market Forecasting. That's 26 issues of Barron's, plus the bonus booklet for just $36. Call 800-554-9000 now.
Monday, two of the USFL's premier running backs come face-to-face live on ESPN. The Tampa Bay Bandits, led by fleet-footed Gary Anderson, look to run up the score against Joe Cribbs and the Birmingham Stallions. Find out who rushes to victory, live Monday on ESPN.
Don't miss the NCAA Division II Men's Basketball Championship next on ESPN. We're all set in Springfield to bring you the live play-by-play.
On the eve of the World Championship, the Packers' clean jerseys conceal the raw truth of a hard-fought season. Against the Oakland Raiders, the Packers shook off the painful legacy of a rugged 16-game season and smashed to a 33-14 triumph and football's world championship. When it was over, Vince Lombardi left the field on the shoulders of his men, acclaimed the greatest coach of football's greatest team. And it is as a team that the Green Bay Packers will be remembered. For 10 years, Jerry Kramer has been part of that team. He was there in the fog and in the snow and mud of 1965. He was there in the Texas sun of 1966, and he was there in Miami at his coach's side. He can tell it the way it really is.
There are no special stars on the club. It's just a tremendous group of guys. I've had a tremendous association with these people. They're great people, they're fun people, they're good people. And my big enjoyment out of the game is the people I associate with. I'll tell you in a nutshell, if you can understand this. I play pro football because of Emlyn Tunnell, Bill Quinlan, Dan Curry, Paul Horning, Fuzzy Thurston, Max McGee, Henry Jordan,
Herb Adderley, Ray Nitschke, Dave Robinson, Bart Starr. They will be remembered as the faces of victory. They will be remembered for their coach, whose iron discipline was the foundation on which they built a fortress. And most of all, they will be remembered as a group of men who faced the greatest challenge their sport has ever produced and conquered.